Welcome back. A major milestone for America's independence from communist China this week when NVIDIA announced it is beginning manufacturing of its most advanced semiconductor chip, partly to be used for the military here in America. Answering the call from President Trump to bring the supply chain and manufacturing back to the United States, NVIDIA announced its fastest AI chip is now being fully produced in Arizona. The company also announcing a string of deals at its GTC conference in Washington this week, including a $1 billion investment in Nokia for a 2.9% stake, a partnership with the Department of Energy to build 7 new AI supercomputers, and a rollout of partnerships across technology, healthcare, and transportation, teaming up with Eli Lilly on drug discovery, Palantir on enterprise AI, and Uber on its next-gen robotaxi fleet. In the middle of it all, as hundreds of billions of new money has been moving into AI infrastructure, NVIDIA's stock has been on a tear, this week hitting an incredible milestone of being valued at $5 trillion. Unheard of. But it has happened. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the president and CEO and founder of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang. Jensen, congratulations to you. What a moment in time. $5 trillion in market value. How are you feeling?
Well, it's a great honor. It's a great achievement. It took us 30 years to reinvent computing and started this complete AI platform shift. And now the industry is off on a decade-long build-out. And so really excited with the achievement.
Tell me about manufacturing this Blackwell chip in Arizona, Jensen. How difficult was that to achieve, to bring such an important chip production here to America?
Well, first of all, AI is an industrial revolution. And this is the most important technology of our time, potentially the most important technology of all time. And when President Trump first took office, he wanted us to manufacture these critical technologies onshore. He wanted to reindustrialize the United States. He wants to have energy growth. He wants to make sure that the United States is a leader in artificial intelligence. And in order to do so, we need to lead in energy. We need to lead in chips. We need to lead in building AI infrastructures and factories, including lead in building AI models, of course, but also using AI in all the different applications in various industries, from healthcare to manufacturing to robotics to, science and industry. So he wanted that in his administration, and he wanted it at the speed of light. And so I told him that we would bring manufacturing back within 9 months with the partnership of TSMC, which is an incredible partner for the United States. Foxconn, Wistron, Amkor, and Spill, we've been able to manufacture now the most advanced AI chip in the world completely in the United States and Arizona. The workers worked incredibly hard. The mechanical engineers, the electricians, the plumbers, the construction workers, they all worked around the clock. 9 months later, we're now in volume production of the most advanced AI chip in the world.
Is it much more expensive to do it in the United States versus Taiwan?
It is more expensive to do it in the United States, but we're going to get better over time. Re-onshoring manufacturing and the first plant of its kind, it's going to cost a little bit more money, but that's okay. The national security benefits, the supply chain resilience benefits, the job creation benefits here in the United States. We're going to manufacture chips, systems, and those systems are going. These AI supercomputers are going to go into what are going to be AI factories, which are going to be used by every single industry in the United States. And so this is going to create over time. My guess is millions of jobs, and really, really high quality jobs. From really skilled tradecraft. And so I think this is just such an important thing to do. It costs money to make the investment, to bring it here, but over time it's going to pay for itself and more.
Well, this is an economic story, but this is also a national security story, Jensen. So talk to us about that a bit and why it was important for you to answer the call from President Trump because of national security issues.
Well, President Trump's argument was simply that we can't afford to have the critical manufacturing of things that are technologies and products that are so important to national security be manufactured around the world and can't be manufactured here. And I think that argument is sound. It makes perfect sense. And we decided that we would go all in on bringing manufacturing back on shore. And so I think this is it's great for jobs. It's great for national security. It's great for supply chain resilience. It's great for our business. It's great for America. I think everybody wins. It's terrific. It's such a great vision. The three things that he did that is really important to our industry, really important to America. Number one is reindustrialization, energy growth, and then also taking a leadership position in artificial intelligence, the most important technology of our time. And so these three initiatives that we're part of is going to completely transform America's position in the world and going to continue to keep America well ahead of the rest of the world. And so it's such a great vision, and I'm all behind it.
That is very optimistic. Jensen, I want to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to ask you a little about this deal that the president has agreed upon with Xi Jinping, what that means for NVIDIA, and also there's hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into the AI infrastructure. I want to get your take on all that money and where you see that going. Stay with us. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang is here, and we'll be right back on Sunday Morning Futures. Welcome back, and I am back with NVIDIA CEO and co-founder Jensen Huang. Jensen, I want to ask you your thoughts on President Trump's agreement with Xi Jinping, which was done this past week in South Korea. The president said he will cut the tariffs to 47%. He will put that 100% tariff threat on the side. China will suspend the global implementation of the expansive new export controls on rare earth minerals. And also, the U.S. will suspend a new rule that expands the entity list export restrictions to any entity that is at least 50% owned by one or more entities on the list. China will suspend the implementation of relevant export controls. What does this agreement mean for you and NVIDIA with regard to selling to China?
Well, what an achievement. This is a milestone meeting, a milestone deal, a historic deal. And the readouts from all the news that I've read, just the respectful, the friendly relationship that they've built between the two presidents and, of course, between the two countries, therefore. The post from Secretary Hegseth and all the readouts from Secretary Bessent have all been extraordinary. You know, this really creates the conditions, I hope, for NVIDIA to be able to go back and compete in market in China. Trump 45, in President Trump's first administration, he set the tone perfectly for America to lead in technology and make sure that American companies have the best and first, but for American technology companies to go around the world to compete and win. In the last 4 years, the administration really set us on a path that really backfired. The policies have really backfired. From a 95% market share in the China market, which is one of the most important markets in the world, when President Trump left office, NVIDIA's market share in China is now 0%. And so this is really time, and it's a great opportunity for us to reset back to the Trump 45 policies. For the Trump 45 policies where American AI companies are able to go to China, compete in the marketplace, and be able to diffuse and proliferate American technology standards around the world so that we could set the global standards, so that the world is built on American standards, so that we could lead the world. And so I think this creates the conditions for us to do that. I hope we're able to revert back to the policies of the Trump 45 administration and get back into the market and compete.
Do you worry that your chips in any way will give China an edge in this AI race?
Well, one of the things that the policies that we've seen in the last 4 years is that we've done nothing to set them back. In fact, what we really have done is conceded and retreated from the second largest technology market in the world. And President Trump sees that. And it's also true that we underestimated China's ability to accelerate their indigenous technology industry. They manufacture now millions of AI chips, it is very clear now their military doesn't rely on American technology. In fact, we've been banned from returning back to the Chinese market by the Chinese. And so I think it's very clear they don't rely on American technology. It's also common sense that the military of China, with all of their local capabilities and their local chips, wouldn't rely on American technology and American software for their military applications. I think that's all. It makes perfect sense, and I think it's played out now that the policies of the last 4 years has really backfired, and it's time for us to revert back to Trump 45 policies.
I want to ask you about the trillions of dollars you're expecting inside the AI infrastructure build out. We're going to take a short break and come back with that. Jensen, stay right there. We'll be right back on Sunday Morning Future. Welcome back. I'm back with Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA. And Jensen, I want to get your take on all the money moving into the AI infrastructure build out. How much are you expecting that to be? And will we see a return on investment in that money soon?
We are seeing our business really strong and accelerating. And the reason for that is because artificial intelligence in the last year made some humongous breakthroughs. It is now effective, it's useful, it's generating really good results for users. It's impacting every single industry that we're observing. Everything from healthcare to, of course, enterprise computing, where we do work, and whether it's manufacturing, robotics, we're just seeing breakthroughs in every industry. The platform shift from the old way of doing computing, from general purpose computing and CPUs, to the new way of doing computing with AI and GPUs, that platform shift is just beginning. And we're just seeing it so strong and accelerating because now fundamentally, finally, AI is delivering really great results. And it's the reason why we're seeing the fastest growing companies in the world, these software companies and AI companies, just growing and generating so much revenues, and now they're profitable, really generating AI in a profitable way. So we're going to see this build out continuing.
Jensen, how do you use AI?
I use AI every single day, getting prepared for today's interview, for example, writing papers, writing all kinds of things, doing research.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.